I'm talking?
It'll hear you from here. Okay.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the September 9th, 2024 meeting of Manhattan Community Board 11's Human Services Committee. My name is Isaac Scott, and I'm the chair of the committee. This meeting is called to order at 6:03 p.m. Tonight, we are joined by Khalid Nixon, filling in for Marlene Pierre, the staff liaison to our committee. In order to conduct an efficient meeting, let's observe a few ground rules. No one may speak until granted the floor. CB11 members, if you have a question about board business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. To raise your hand through Zoom, click the participants icon and you will find the raise hand function there. Members should not engage in a back and forth discussion. The chair will recognize the next person to speak. Please keep your questions and comments brief and on topic to the discussion. Members of the public, if you have a question or comment about the subjects on the agenda, please raise your hand and you'll be called on. With that, we will now take roll call. Committee members, you can answer present when you hear your name.
Okay, committee members, for reference, there are 10 members on this committee, 6 are needed for quorum. Mark Bogursky, an excuse for this meeting. Marcel Bondima.
How's that?
Thank you. Rosa Diaz is excused for this meeting. Arnice Foster Hernandez.
Present.
Thank you. Jennifer Meyer. Valerie Ponte.
Present.
Thank you. Asher Rodriguez.
Present.
Thank you. Isaac Scott.
Present.
Thank you. Robin Strachan. Well, Robin fill out a form, but we can't see her right now. Alita Chikambud. So, or at least, no response right now. So we currently have 5 members present. We need 1 more for quorum. We can go into recess if you'd like to.
Yeah, so what the process is right now is we need 6 members for quorum, and until we will stand in recess from this point on for 15 minutes, awaiting another committee member to come. If they do come within that time, we will resume the meeting. If they do not, we will have to adjourn the meeting. So just wanted to clarify the process for everyone. Thank you, everybody, for being here on time, and thank you for your patience.
Could you explain the quorum to me?
Yeah. Okay, you can go ahead now. We're good, all right, thank you, everyone. Okay, so we're gonna resume the meeting now. The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office and posted online. If there's no objections, we will adopt the agenda as stated. Committee members, if you object to adopting the agenda, you may raise your hand and wait to be recognized. And if you need any clarity on what that means, let me know, so I know, that we're working with, new committee members, and I want to respect them. So I won't just breeze through this. But seeing no objections, we will adopt the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. The adoption of the minutes from June's meeting, which was our last committee meeting, that was, distributed ahead of time as well as posted online by the board office. And if there's no objections, we will adopt the meeting minutes from that last meeting. Seeing no objections. Those meeting minutes are adopted. Okay, cool. So let's move into our agenda. The first thing on our agenda is announcements. I would like to, very happily announce that, the Human Services Committee is joined by, right at this moment, 4 new, committee members. We have a few more members who are new to this committee, and I'm very, very grateful for their presence and the work that we're going to do together. So that's an announcement that I'm happy about. And I would also thank Xavier and his leadership and working with the board office and ensuring that we had people on our committee to be able to do the work we need to do. So that's a blessing. I wanted to just take a moment and just allow all of our new committee members. Some of them are new to the board. Some of them are members of other committees, chairs as well. So yeah, and I'll start with you, Ash, since you were next time.
Hi, I'm Asher Rodriguez. This is my first time being on the Human Services Committee, and I'm also the chair of the Youth and Education Committee. So if you have any youth and education questions, ask me. Looking forward to working in collaboration with this committee because we do have a lot of overlap.
Thank you, Ash.
I'm Arnice Foster Hernandez. I am newly appointed to the Human Services Committee and Community Board 11. I am a longtime resident, well, lifelong resident of Harlem. And I'm a new business owner, so we just opened up our business in June. And I worked for New York City Parks Department for 31 years and New York State for 2. So I'm familiar with a lot of community board services and operations, and I'm glad to join as now a community resident.
Hi,
Yes, please.
good evening. My name is Valerie Ponte. I live in East Harlem. I retired recently from the City of New York Department of HRA. I've had experience working at Rikers Island, the Department of Mental Health, and with DOHH, you know what I'm talking about. And I'm new to the Community Board 11. I'm glad to be here. And ready to go to work.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Marcel Bandima. I was born and raised here in East Harlem. I currently work at Sapporo Restaurant on 116th Street. I'm also part of Rodell Pleasant Community Garden. It's my happy place. This past summer, I had the opportunity to collaborate in partnership with whole community, do a recreative art series for the children of El Barrio, and it was such a wonderful experience. I'm newly appointed to the community board and this committee, and I'm just excited to learn, grow, and contribute to a community that I love so much.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. And it's a pleasure meeting you all. And I'm looking forward to working with you. All right, so getting into business, on September 24th.
Were you gonna give Jennifer?
Well, Jen is not a new, Jen.
Oh, that's why I was.
Okay, so but
I'm sorry.
No, I was, Jen, I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm Jen. I'm the vice chair of Human Services. I've been on the board since 2020, it's right at the start of the pandemic. I've lived in East Harlem, I just moved out, but I've lived here for 10 years as until 2 months ago, but I work at Mount Sinai Hospital and I'm still in the community a lot, volunteer in the community. Whenever I'm at work in the community, so, still love this community and happy to see what we can accomplish this year.
I'm sorry, man. It was you remember now. Been trooping with me this whole journey. We joined the board together, so been on the journey and we on the same committees too. Alright, okay, so an announcement here, and it's posted on the screen for anyone, I'm sure you saw it already, but the statement of district needs, on September 2024. 24th of 2024, CB11 will hold public hearings on statement of district needs and budget requests for fiscal year 2026. And land use application 240385 MMM related to the proposed Beacon mixed use development project. So that's an announcement, wanted to ensure that everyone knows. And we also have the Beacon on today, the people from Beacon presenting today a little bit later. So they'll be able to talk more about that project during the presentation section.
Xavier has his hand raised, did you want?
Oh, yeah, please, Xavier.
Hey, evening, everyone. I wanted to wish you a happy welcome back to our next session. Thank you, Isaac, for the nice comments. We've been very thoughtful in assigning this committee. I would love to have been there in person, but I'm Mr. Mom today. But I'm really pleased to see the work you're going to set upon and wanted to wish you a happy beginning of session. I look forward to seeing you all at full board. And if you have any questions, we're all available and look forward to doing the good work. So have a great meeting. And don't forget, we also have a couple of events this weekend. Borican Health is having their street fair from 12 to 5. So I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that. It'd be great for some of us to show up during that time period as well. So have a great meeting. Thank you.
Xavier, could you say a little bit more about that event? Because no one is actually on for Borican to give updates. So maybe, a little bit more, you could just say a little bit more on the record for us.
Yeah, so there should be a flyer going out, and Anne-Marie Vasquez should be sending that to Khalid with the flyer for the street fair this Saturday. I believe it's 12 to 5 over by Borican Health. It'd be great if some of our board members can show up and just come say hi. They've had their street activities this past summer every Friday, and it'd be good as they kind of close out the season to show up for the fair. And that's this Saturday, 12 to 5, right by Borican. I believe it's on 122nd or 123rd, right next to Taino Towers. But there'll be a flyer and it'll go out this Friday with the newsletter. So yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great meeting, everyone. Thank you. Isaac. Bye.
All right, are there any other announcements from committee members? Any events or anything you want that you think is relevant to the Human Services Committee that you want to just let the public know about? You don't have to, but you have that option all the time, so just so you know. And if it comes up later, or you find it in your phone later, or you find it in your computer, whatever, just say something, and we'll make sure that it's on the record so people know. This is someone.
Robin has.
Robin?
They're always.
No, Rob.
Come on, Robin. How you doing?
Hi, thank you so much, Isaac. Good to see you all. I'm with an organization called Search and Care, Geriatric Case Management in East Harlem. We are specifically focused on helping people with MyChart. If your organization would like a presentation for seniors, that is, specifically for seniors on how to access MyChart, which is about health equity, we would be happy to consider it. Just contact me. The office has my email. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Robin. Another hand on this one?
We have a Shannon Risberg.
Before we go to Shannon, Shannon is about to give updates for CCHP.
So you want to?
Shannon, if it's okay, Shannon, could you hold that until you give the updates?
She put her hand out.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Thank you, appreciate you. Yes, let's go to that was it.
That was Robin, so I mean, if no other
No one else?
announcements,
Okay.
we can move on.
All right. Cool. Thank you, guys. Okay, so, with that, we can move into our informational updates, and our first one will be from the Department of Mental Health and, Hygiene. And we have, Pauline Ferrante on.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Pauline
evening.
Ferrante from the Health Department. Thank you for having me. I hope everyone had a great summer and we are all gearing up to attend meetings again this year. I look forward to working with everyone at Community Board 11. So there have not been too many major updates happening at the Health Department. But one thing we do want folks to just pay attention to for the next month would be the West Nile virus. We did have a very wet summer, which contributed to lots of mosquitoes, and we have detected more pools of mosquitoes with West Nile virus more than last year comparatively. And so we just want people to be aware that if you are going to be out during prime mosquito time, which is around dusk or in the dawn, to really just either use bug spray protection or wear long sleeves, like loose fitting clothing. Thankfully, October marks the end of mosquito season, but if there continues to be warm weather, it could potentially prolong the season a little bit. So we just want to make sure everyone is aware and take those personal precautions. We did have a adulticiding spray event that did take place in various blocks that I think did impact your community board. I haven't heard any complaints, but if you have heard anything, please let me know. I know that CB10 had concerned about a butterfly sanctuary, so we did our very best to avoid that area when we did do the spraying. So if you know of any location in your community board that has, sensitive wildlife like butterflies, always just let me know. Hopefully there will be no other spray event happening in your community district for the rest of the season. But if there is one, I will be very happy to let you know so that you can have that time to give me information about any places that we might potentially want to avoid just to protect some of the other wildlife. But again, the adulticide spray that we use, of course, is approved by the federal government, and we take every precaution to make sure that people are aware that these events are happening so that they do take those precautions to either stay indoors or to just make sure that their things are not outside or their windows are closed. But again, the spray that we use does die with sunlight. So if you do happen to leave things out after a spray event, the sunlight will mitigate some of those effects, but really it's just meant to eliminate the mosquito population where we do find West Nile virus in those populations. We don't spray where there is no virus. And so, it's our last resort to do an adulticide spraying because we do know that it's a hardship on the community. And so we do our very best to try and mitigate water sources and to issue violations to people who have constant standing water on their properties. So it's a constant, battle to make sure that we are on top of that. But when it does come where there is potential for human transmission of the West Nile virus, that is when we make that decision to do a spray event. So hopefully no more for the rest of the season for Manhattan. But if there is, of course, I will let the community board know and the local elected officials know. That's sort of the biggest news we have coming from our end, but I am happy to take any questions related to West Nile or not. And if I don't have information to provide tonight, I will be more than happy to come back next month and give you lots of answers to your questions. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Pauline.
Quick question, I saw that where one of the spray events was happening was very close to a school. Was the school notified of it? This might just be a little bit ignorant, but yeah.
Yeah, so typically we do notify we post information on properties or in bus stops and to make people aware of what the route is. And we do have communications with city-owned properties as well, or city agencies such as schools, but I can double check whether or not we did very specific communication to that particular school. But also, if you're signed up for Notify NYC, That's a way that we get information out to people in very specific zip codes. So that's something that I would highly recommend everyone in the community signing up for. You can choose, what type of alerts you want, because obviously you don't want alerts for everything. It could get overwhelming, but that is one way that I think is really helpful for community members to know exactly what's happening in their neighborhood. But I can double check on whether or not we notified the schools in the area.
Just to give the exact location, it's on Madison between 102nd and 105th. And there is one school that the yard PS 171, the yard faces directly where it was being sprayed. So
Okay.
that's what I'm referring to.
Yeah, I will definitely look into that.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
I have a question.
Can I just, committee member to jump in and just do y'all don't have to, after the next person to jump in. If you have a question, if you're online, raise your hand so we know I'm there with the floor.
Hi, Pauline, this is Arnice Foster Hernandez. I'm new on the Human Services Committee.
Hello, welcome.
Hi, thank you. I just have a question for the residential courtyards. Does the spray reach confined courtyards where they have a tendency to have drains in the back of their courtyards and standing water?
I don't think so, but I can definitely ask our team to see sort of what the reach is of the spray. If there is a courtyard in question or a property that is not maintaining, you can always let us know so that we can go and conduct an inspection, because standing water is the biggest, factor in mosquito breeding. But usually if a building is taking care of their shrubbery and making sure that there's no standing water on the property, it wouldn't necessarily be too much of an issue. So if you do know of a problematic location, please let us know.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions? Any other questions? Are there any hands up online?
No hands.
No hands, okay. Pauline, thank you very much. I'm so happy that you're back with us. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so our next set of updates is from East Harlem Co-ed. I'm not sure, Ms. Johnson, are you giving the updates this evening?
Yes, I am.
How are you?
Thank you so much. It's good to be back with you guys. It's been a minute, very, very busy months, and it's getting busier. But anyway, my name is Carol Johnson. I am the disaster liaison for the East Harlem Co-ed, community organizations active in disasters. And we formed in goodness. It's been a long time, people. We formed in 2015 as a result of looking at things like Hurricane Katrina. And then we saw things get more local, where we had the East Harlem gas explosion. And we looked at our surroundings in East Harlem being a low-line, red line area, that it needed a group that was going to coordinate a response, an active response, a cohesive response to deal with any emergencies that hit East Harlem, whether it's acts of God or public health emergencies, as we saw in COVID. And so we activated. And at this point, East Harlem Co-ed actually saw most of our action during COVID, where we distributed well over 100,000 masks and different types of PPE. And we've been doing all types of trainings for people in order to set up families, neighborhoods, groups to understand what emergency preparedness is all about. And so we formed, and we've got like 15 organizations that's under us that are partners. The New York City Emergency, New York City, NYSEM, New York City Emergency Management, the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, the Department of Health. We also work with schools, senior centers, and community partners, houses of worship. We have presently been working on doing setting up emergency plans for businesses. So far, we've done 9 businesses and we are still doing them. We're doing them in both English and in Spanish. And we are looking for more community members to assist us. We're teaching Stop the Bleed, which is a technique to assist with stopping the bleed. If someone is injured, falls and injures an arterial vein or arterial artery, or is shot or stabbed, and we found out that generally people will die because people don't know how to staunch the bleed. So we're not only teaching how to staunch it by using a tourniquet, we're also learning how to pack the bleed, how to call 911 and when to call 911. At the present time, we are now planning for our upcoming yearly event, which is Saturday, September 21st, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And that will be held at the Dream Charter School, 1991 2nd Avenue. That's on the corner of 104th Street and 2nd Avenue. We're gonna have a whole lot of things for both adults and children. We'll have Stop the Bleed, we'll have inhalation CPR. We will have events for children as well as adults. Everyone will leave with a go bag, and I can send the flyer for that event to the board and hope that you will distribute it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. I appreciate you. Are there any questions from any committee members? No questions in the virtual space? All right.
Just like that flyer. Is it possible for you to send that flyer as soon as possible so I could present it to the Youth and Education Committee? Yeah.
What was
I'll
the
send
date?
it to the community board tonight.
Can you repeat the date again, Ms. Johnson?
I'm sorry,
Oh,
Can you repeat the date one more time, please?
Saturday, September 21st. And that
It's
will
in
be from,
It's in the events calendar
Yeah,
already,
yes. On the
it is,
website.
okay, I didn't
Yes.
see it.
at 11
Yeah,
a.m.
yeah.
11 a.m. Says.
At the Dream Charter School.
Yes. 1991 2nd Avenue, 104th Street.
All right, I appreciate you and it's very good seeing you again.
Yeah, I'm a little sleepy. I'm sorry. I'm like sort of dazed out tonight. It's been extremely busy 2 months.
No, but thank you for bearing with us and for staying on. I appreciate you. All right, so with that, we'll transition to our next set of updates, and that will be from CCHP, which is the Center for Comprehensive Health Practice. Shannon Risbrook, the floor is yours.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So I'm from Center for Comprehensive Health Practice. For those who are not aware of who we are a health center located on 35 East and 110th Street. And we provide primary care, mental health, and behavioral health services like counseling and treatment, along with addiction services, which includes counseling and treatment as well, along with an early childhood development center. And we don't have that many updates today. However, we are honoring Recovery Month for those who are currently recovering from addiction. And we are doing that we have a campaign where we have our purple ribbons, which is also to honor International Overdose Awareness Day. And our community members can come and write names or prayers or anything of the sort that they want to add to the ribbon, and we'll have at CCHP. Along with, we just hired a new RAP advocate. So RAP is our retention and adherence program for those living with HIV. So this new RAP advocate would be there for escorts, helping with medication management, like updates, just being there for our community members and those who have services at CCHB who are living with HIV. So if you know any community members who would benefit from those services, Our rap advocate's also bilingual, so he speaks both English and Spanish. And we can always reach out to CCHP. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Shannon. And I remember the last time you presented, I mentioned that I wanted to connect with you all because we're at another choice, youth and family outreach. We're strengthening our referral network. So I wanted to just talk with you all about the issues that we see coming in the door and how best to refer people and connecting with you all. So I didn't forget that, and I hope that I can still connect with y'all soon in like the next, after this budget time, it's like November, let's do that, you know what I mean? But yeah, are there any questions from any community members? I do encourage you to look up CCHP, the work that they're doing. The people that they're here, doing work with and for, and the impact that they're having in these homes. Are there any questions from anybody in the virtual space? And no questions. All right, cool. All right, thank you, Shannon. I appreciate you. Okay, our next set of updates is from Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center.
Who would be the representative for that?
I think it was Shanita.
So there is not a, there isn't a. Shanita.
Is there anyone on today from Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center? No? Okay, that's cool. Well, I'll circle back with them. I have to follow it. I sent everyone a email to come back and continue to give updates. I echo Carol Johnson, my son is in prison too, so I understand. I'll follow back up with them. The reason they were on the informational updates is because I'm not sure how much people are aware of cancer services that we have, right in East Harlem. So to committee members, if you guys know any organizations specifically, as we go through today's meeting is really going to dig deeper into a lot of what this committee has been working on. We can talk also about, the work Jen has been doing and helping to put together budget request items. And but from there, if you can think of organizations that should come and give informational updates to the community, please suggest them so we can, work on communicating with them. Because right now, those 4 organizations are the only 4. Since when I was on, I think it was on DOH when I started, so I've been adding people and it's been rotating. So yeah, you guys please that these are areas where you can definitely contribute and help. Anytime you have a suggestion there.
Yeah, Metropolitan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What, so a little bit more. Yeah, that's a big. We're calling Metropolitan.
I know that they got there's a Pride Center there. It's one of the main ones in the New York City Health and Hospital System.
Okay.
Pediatrics and stuff. They have a lot of stuff there, so I think it's just, the one that I'm familiar with is Pride Center.
Okay, so if you could just forward me a contact.
Yeah.
I definitely will invite you. 100%. If anybody else has any thoughts right now too. Yeah. Thank you. I mean, because we can invite everyone to give information updates, then our updates will be all day. So I don't want us to add everybody just to add them, but I do want as many people to come before us to give information.
Yeah, I've seen them show up to the meetings, our full board meetings and hand out stuff. That's why they came to my mind.
Okay.
So, yeah.
No, if they would be good, I think child services is very important, especially with all of the especially with a lot of the New Yorkers we have right now. So that's very definitely. Other child care centers too that you can think of. Perhaps we should also have someone here from Union Settlement since they do Head Start. Well, they probably don't use an education.
They have not.
Okay, but those are things that these are our options, these are our, this is our space, to actually, inform the community and do the work that we want to do. All right, so, enough talking about that. I'll transition this out of our informational updates and into our first, presentation. The first presentation is a continued discussion. There was a request for a letter of support, for, NYC Public Health Solutions and their new initiative regarding menthol and mentholated products. Is Stephanie on right now?
Stephanie,
Stephanie, Marcato Altman.
let's see. Is here Stephanie Thompson?
I don't think that's the same. It's Stephanie.
Yeah, not,
Is
not
there-
any Mercado. Well. Is there, what were you saying?
Oh, no, I was gonna ask, is there anyone on from, New York City Public Health Solutions? Instead of, Stephanie Altman to give the presentation today? I just wanted to open it up. No?
No one's raising their
Okay,
hand.
that's cool. We can transition. I'll follow up. I'll work with my women and follow up with them.
So you're opting to table this item for next month?
Yeah, well, what we'll do is we'll follow up with, Stephanie and we'll see what makes the most sense, because next month we'll be dealing with our budget items, so I don't.
Understood. So okay, just so I can mark it in the minutes. This is-
Okay, yes, just mark this, yes, you can mark this as we are tabling it now. We'll follow up with, the presenter. And then we'll look to include them back on the agenda for December, I'm sorry,
Moving forward.
November.
Okay,
Because October would be the next one.
okay.
So this was from June's meeting, so we can
Yeah.
go back and look at those minutes.
You could, if you want to, that would probably also help the presentation. So here's something also committee to understand. Generally, when people come and they want a letter of support, we usually, this was something that I know was implemented during the time while I was chair, that we're really trying to, do and be strict about, if that's the best word to use, but giving 30 days before we give a response. So if someone comes today and they want a letter of request, we will hear their presentation and then take that information back, and we have 30 days. You will have time to do your homework on it. We can talk about it offline, however, whatever background you need to do to be able to have an informed vote for when you come back. So it's not like you're rushed on the spot to vote for anything. So, she came in June, which was not a good month to come because we're not even meeting in July. So it was like, hey, can we put this back on the agenda for September? That's how I got back on. So if y'all want to look back at it, it would be, I'm sure that the committee will support it. You know, I think it was specifically about, vaping. But it was, I think it also had to do with young people as well. If I'm not mistaken, please forgive me. I haven't read the minutes in the past few days. Yeah, so, but I'm sure it's something that this committee will support anyway. So if you do want to go back and look at the minutes, that could help we could make a vote the next time this person came to the, or someone from the organization came to this committee to present, then we wouldn't have to wait another 30 days. But we could also just wait the 30 days if you all want to do a fresh presentation as fresh board members. Members, you know? Yes. I would love to hear from them.
I would rather just do my own research and then vote when they come back, because it sounds like it's gonna be November at that point, so it's even more than 30 days.
Yeah.
To figure it out, because there's also the recording is online and stuff. It also gives enough time to like send an email to you if you have questions for the person before they come back.
Okay, so would it make sense, or would it be helpful to everyone if I sent you all the minutes and specifically highlighted that presentation?
Yes, well, I have it. I'm reading it right now.
You're reading it.
I got it already. Yeah.
Do an email it to me, please,
Yeah.
I could.
my CB email,
Okay,
thank you.
It was the 6/10, right? June 10th
yeah,
minutes. Yeah, Marlene sent it on September 6th.
Yeah. I think the recordings on the board work site, if minutes isn't someone's thing.
Website, also,
yeah, the same place you go to register for the meetings, if you were online, it's the same place you see the minutes, if you just scroll down, you also see all of the presentation slides from whoever came on that day as well.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to pull that up on the screen and navigate it with folks too, so we will have some time to do that a little later. We're doing good on time. Yeah. All right, I'm on my coffee.
Everybody's welcome to some coffee at the cafe.
Thank you.
Okay, cool, so, I will send those meeting minutes, around, myself.
Yes.
Huh?
Yes,
Did I say that?
you did.
Alright, cool. Alright, so let's keep it moving. We have a presentation now, which is an informational presentation regarding the land use application, related to the Beacon project. So I know that we have folks on for that, so I won't take up any more time because after that, the floor will be ours to work on our business. So, and just to, and please,
Yes.
correct me if I'm wrong here, because I did not honestly have the time to look into the project more than what I just heard from committee members, doing their best to inform me. But there was, I know that there's a number of social services offered in that space. And the reason that they are presented here is because those services will have to be relocated.
Actually, I'm not
Oh, yeah.
well versed. Yes,
There you
yes.
go.
It would be
But I
partly
believe
legal,
committee members, that's what it is.
but we do have some of the guests that are present here. They might be able to answer those questions.
Okay, cool. So, I'll stop talking and turn the floor over to everyone. Thank you guys for your patience.
Yeah, of course. So we're happy you have those preliminary questions that we can answer.
Cool.
I'm gonna share my screen and then would you be able to provide me with that?
Yes, no problem. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, they told me they were about it, but there's some of them don't.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Can everyone see the screen all right and hear me all right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. All right. Good evening. My name is James Chikov. I am the Senior Manhattan Planner in HPD's Division of Planning and Pre-Development. And I'm joined by my director, Melissa Otten, and I'll be presenting with folks from the development team, Ascendant, and the community builders, and they'll introduce themselves throughout the presentation. So we want to thank you, the Community Board 11 Human Services Committee, for having us tonight. We're eager because you're our first stop in ULURP, actually. This project was certified today. And, we're eager to be presenting the beacon and get the public approvals to get this built on to fulfill the East Harlem RFP Site A. Just a quick note as we kick off, tonight we're going to be presenting on some of those components on the community facility and with more abridged versions of the land use actions and affordability. We're going to go over those components a lot more in detail on Wednesday at the Land Use, Landmarks, and Planning Committee, and as well as at, as was mentioned, we'll be doing a full board public hearing on September 24th. So we'll be here multiple times, so, for different aspects of the project. So tonight we'll do a quick background of how this project came to be, an introduction to the site, and then go quickly through the proposed land use actions, and then I'll pass it to the development team to take us through the project, programming and design, and the nonprofit tenant relocation plan.
Okay, before you guys get started, I just wanted to,
Yes.
so could we keep the presentation to about 10 to 12 minutes and then off at least 5 minutes for Q&A afterwards?
Yeah, absolutely. That's just about how long we have it. So
Thank you.
yeah, so starting with a bit of background, the Beacon project, for those who are unfamiliar, came to fruition as a result of feedback received during the East Harlem Neighborhood Plan in 2016. And this was the plan developed recommendations to address key neighborhood issues, of which one of those was proposing housing recommendations to use public sites to advance 100% affordable projects, and pairing those with additional neighborhood resources, such as improving community facilities. So this project, the Beacon, in 2021 was selected by HPD via a competitive request for proposals, or RFP, to rehabilitate the East Harlem Multi-Service Center, which is known as Site A, and provide housing on the surrounding parking lot. So the Multi-Service Center is currently operated by the New York City Human Resources Administration. Oops. The Beacon will be located at 413 East 120th Street, adjacent to the Wagner houses and between First Avenue and Pleasant Avenue. We here at HPD are the applicant for this project, and the development team working with us is Ascendant Neighborhood Development and the Community Builders. We're pleased again to announce that the project was certified today, Monday, September 9th, and the project will include one new residential building of 21 stories with approximately 281 affordable units to be developed under HPD's extremely low and low income affordability program known as ELA. The project will be affordable to households earning up to 80% of the area median income. The second building will be a rehabilitated and expanded multi-service center building owned and managed by the development team, and it will expand the capacity of the existing facility and provide space for both the existing and new tenants. So this is the complex section that we're going to spend much more time on Wednesday discussing. HPD has proposed several land use actions through 2 applications. We're happy to take Q&A at the end, but right now I'll just give you a quick run through. The city is proposing a change in the city map to demap 20 feet of East 120th Street from First Avenue to the eastern end of the development site. We need to take this action because the existing multi-service center building encroaches onto the street by approximately 11 feet. And so the proposed project cannot move forward without that first action. In the second application, HPD proposes all the remaining actions, which include an urban development action area of the disposition area, UDAP approval of the proposed project, disposition of city-owned property, and a rezoning to rezone the area in this map highlighted in dotted red to an R8 district, and a zoning text amendment to map an MIH, or mandatory inclusionary housing area. So it's a mouthful there. Happy to answer any questions regarding this portion, but right now I'd rather pass it to the development team who's going to speak about the exciting part of this project. So I'll turn it over to Derek and Brian.
Cool. Thanks so much, James. Hey everyone, my name is Derek Gaskill. I'm the Senior Project Manager at Ascendant Neighborhood Development Corporation. Hello to those who I know, and so nice to meet the new folks on this committee. So Ascendant Neighborhood Development, we're a nonprofit community development organization located right here in East Harlem. And part of our mission is to develop and preserve affordable housing. So we're the co-developer on the Beacon, along with our partners at the Community Builders. We also have our design team listed on the side. The architect is Paul Castrucci Architects. Our landscape architect is Terrain. And the general contractor on this project is going to be Latier Construction, who are also located right here in East Harlem. Next slide, please. Cool. So as James mentioned, there are 2 components to the project. The first is a new construction 21-story residential building, which will have 281 apartments that are all affordable. They're being built to HPD's extremely low income and low income affordability term sheet. ELA is the acronym for that. And they're going to be indoor and outdoor amenities that will be available to all residents. Next slide. So we're going to show the affordability mix here very briefly. We're going to go into a lot more depth about this on Wednesday at the Land Use Committee. But just to note that we have a 15% set aside for formerly homeless units. Okay, next slide. Cool. And so the second part of this project is the multi-service center, which we spoke about briefly already. So currently, the existing building is a 5-story building. We're proposing to build a 6-story building with a total of 66,000 square feet of community space. And this will house the existing tenants at the multi-service center. And it also opens up so much more space to bring in new tenants and new community spaces. Okay, I'll pass this over to Brian from the Community Builders.
Could I, is it okay to like have questions in the middle, or do y'all want to wait to the end?
You're the
That's
chair.
fine.
I don't want to mess up the flow if you feel like you want to just get everything out.
I mean, some of your questions might be answered if,
Yeah.
is it related to the residential or is it to this?
No, it was a slide, the distribution of the apartments for, the total number of affordable houses that were, available. Yes, thank you very much. So, if you could just could you just explain this slide a bit slower, please? Because we do have,
Sure.
yeah, we have folks who, it was just kind of fast. Thank you.
Yeah. James, you want to take it or?
Sure. Yeah, no problem.
It's your turn,
Yeah,
Keith.
so, we've got, this project will be built to HPD's, extremely low and low income affordability program known as ELA. So the distribution here is, about 13% of, units will be, affordable to households earning up to the 30% area of median income, followed by 20% will be affordable up to 50% of area median income. 70% AMI will also have about 20% of units. And then 32% of the units will be affordable up to 80% of the area median income. So we have a slide in the appendix we can pull up as well, which has like those income limits. But just pausing here for one moment, I think the team, HPD has been proud to work with this team because they've been able to really increase the number of 2 and 3 bedroom units available in this community. The number of 2 and 3 bedrooms make up now 37% of this project. And when we presented to the community board back in, I believe, March, that number was 34%. And then in the RFP, it was closer to 31 or 2%, I believe. So this team has made strides in that respect as well. But yeah, happy to take HPD side questions or developer side questions, more of the affordability, but would love to carry on.
Thank you.
Yep.
No,
He said he was sure he has his card.
he said it's at the end.
Is that the end?
Yeah, so you said there's a slide towards the end, right, where it would have those, income, where it would list the incomes for the area medium,
Yeah, we'd love to get through the presentation and we'll come back. And we'll show you, we've got plenty of,
Thank you.
we're here.
I won't interrupt anymore. Go for it. Thank you.
What should be the incomes and also the related rents? So it'll make a lot more sense. But we were trying to stay focused on like that community facility or the HRA MSC rehabilitation, but we are so happy to answer the questions at the end too that you may have about this.
Great, so appreciate it. Yeah, I'll dive a little deeper now into the community facility, and then we can always circle back on some of those residential questions. So my name is Brian Backscheider. I'm a senior development project manager from the Community Builders. It said a little bit on the slide earlier, we're a 60-year-old nonprofit. We develop and manage affordable housing across 5 regions in sort of the eastern half of the US. Including a New York City office, which is where I'm based. It's where all my work is focused. So if you want to go ahead to the next slide. Again, the plan for the existing multi-service center building on East 120th Street is to repair and restore and improve the existing building and then add a 6th floor. I'll get into some details about what we're gonna be adding onto the top of the building. But this is to ensure that these existing 7 nonprofits are able to continue to serve the community and to improve their ability to serve the community. And those groups, you can see them listed. You probably know a lot of them, but they work in education and workforce development, childcare, resident services. There's a very wide range of organizations existing at the Multi-Service Center. And part of the exciting thing that the renovation is going to allow is for more rentable area in the building. So for these organizations to expand if they're looking for more space, or for additional organizations to locate in the building. Go ahead, the next slide. And then talking some about some expanded programming. So in addition to the rentable spaces, the office spaces that the nonprofit organizations could rent, we're creating some additional spaces for use by the community. We're creating new ground floor meeting rooms. And that's something that we've heard a lot of, a lot of smaller organizations looking for spaces, conference room kind of spaces to have smaller meetings, as well as the 6th floor addition that's going to hold the two educational greenhouses and a basketball court that is being done and sort of designed in concert with PS 206, who's further down the block. And that's in response to some discussions with them about their interest in creating more physical fitness and basketball opportunities that they can't do in their current space, and also interest in food education and training with the greenhouse spaces. And what's also exciting about those spaces, even though we're working with PS 206, those aren't going to be spaces that are exclusive to PS 206. So we're looking for other organizations that have an interest or a need that could make use of these facilities. We're also making sure that this basketball court space isn't just a basketball court. It's really meant to be a multi-purpose space. And so organizations will be able to rent it for large events or catered events, and have a bit larger meeting space, which is something else that we've heard is hard to find in East Harlem currently. Let's go ahead, next slide. So of course the new stuff is exciting, but we also we're being very careful to make sure that this is a plan that works for and with the current tenants in the building. And so we've met over the last year plus with each tenant in the building to understand their needs for the renovated building, and then also to understand their needs for the relocation for the time, because while we're under construction, these tenants are gonna have to move off-site so we can renovate the building, and then they'll move back at the end of construction. So we've talked with them about what the timing, what would be a good time to move, what type of catchment area are they pulling from, that we should be aware of, where would they like to be in, or not like to be within the neighborhood if they need to be in a temporary space. And we've done, even though their renovation is not about to start, it's gonna, after this ULURP process that James was talking about. So we've got some time. We've already engaged brokers that have been identifying possible locations within the community. They've already identified some spaces. Of course, you all know how real estate works in New York. They might not be there and when we're ready to move, but we're keeping an eye on those spaces, as well as continuing to monitor for future spaces that come available in the neighborhood. And our goal is to make sure that these organizations are staying in the neighborhood in the temporary relocation period, then that they have a great space to come back to continue to serve the neighborhood. And just, quickly note on just timing is really planning like 6 months before construction would start is sort of when we would be starting to effectuate this relocation. So to try to minimize the amount of time that these groups are away from their home. Go ahead to the next slide. And then as James mentioned, we are going to be both the developer and and also the operator of the multi-service center. And so the Community Builders has a long history of developing affordable housing alongside a lot of community-focused retail and community facility spaces. We think it's really important that those things come together. Currently, we have over 500,000 square feet of commercial and community facility space. And just to highlight, here in New York are a couple of our projects. The Park Haven, which is the picture you see on the top right, which is in Mott Haven, just over in the South Bronx, has a grocery store, and it also has a large workforce development center that we manage. And on the lower picture there is our Beach 21st project in Far Rockaway, that in addition to having several small community-based sort of retail commercial spaces, also has a large daycare center for infants up to 4-year-olds at that daycare center. So it's something we have a lot of experience doing, something we think is really important when you're building housing, to make sure that the services come along with it. And then, yeah, just to flip to the last slide before we wrap up and open up to questions, just to make sure the committee knows here that we're very committed to local hiring and very committed to MWBE. As an organization, the Community Builders makes a habit of making sure we exceed whatever the local requirements are for both local hiring and MWBE requirements. We expect that we'll be exceeding those requirements here. And not the least of the reason why is because Latier, the general contractor that we're working with on this project, is an East Harlem-based contractor. And so we're excited to be able to, hire our GC within the community to make sure that we're, making sure that these dollars and this effort is being reinvested in locally in the local community. I think that's it. We'll flip over to, I think, the thank you slide. So thank you. Again, as James and Derek mentioned, we're coming back on Wednesday to the Land Use Committee and then to the full board later this month. And so happy to answer questions now. Happy to answer questions if anything comes up between now and either of those meetings as well. So again, thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. I had a few questions. How long is construction?
Construction's expected to take around 30 months, so about 2.5 years. We're still working through some of the phasing, and we're trying to see if we can get the multi-service center back online sooner, because but it's a juggling act, and we're working through that now. Yeah, so I guess my questions are there, like, what are some of the, well, I guess that'd be too broad. Let's, how, I mean, it's 7 organizations, how, what are some of the biggest concerns, I guess I would like to know about the relocation that you've heard from, the organizations that are there? Because I did hear you said, yeah, I want to get the service center back up running as quick as possible for obvious reasons, but I would love to know what are some of the biggest concerns that you're hearing from the providers in the building now? The biggest concerns around relocation?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say the biggest thing that's come up is, the different organizations operate in different ways. Some of them are, more of an office space where it's just the employees coming in the morning and then leaving in the evening. And others that have sort of a more of a flow of, clients kind of coming and going throughout the day. And so because there's these, clients kind of coming and going, and there's concerns around, just because the relocation space that we identify might be close, it might be a really different environment on the street versus where the multi-service center is now. And so it's really trying to be sensitive, like block to block, how things can change, and finding a space that is going to be appropriate for receiving clients.
Okay, that's all for me, Ash. And then I'm sorry. And then after that, I need to.
I have 2 questions. You mentioned you're working with PS 206. Did you talk to the other school that's co-located in that building, PS 112, about using some of the spaces?
So far we've just made inroads with PS 206, but happy to make other connections on the block.
Also, River East is across the street from where the project is gonna be located, and there's also a charter school, Harlem Village Academy is located in that same building. So those are just some contacts for you guys to think of. Yeah, so.
That's great. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
I can speak to that for a little bit. So the whole concept of the gym from the jump came from a sibling of a colleague that was working on the original proposal. And it came from the concern that school doesn't have a gym that can function as a basketball court. So that's why PS 206 is had influence on the basketball court's decision. But of course, yep, this will be open to the community and we can work with all the schools.
Yeah, my suggestion is contacting the superintendent's office. It's very easy to get in contact with her. She comes to pretty much all our youth and education meetings. So superintendent is Christy De La Cruz. I could give Isaac her email if you would like her email. Yeah.
That would be fantastic. Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Yeah, I mean, our goal is really to make sure that these are really heavily used and activated spaces. And so I think the more groups that have an interest in using this space, the better. We'll deal with the scheduling headaches. That's a good problem to have.
Yeah, and I know next door to this project, if I'm correct, is the Acadia Gardens.
Yeah, Acacia Gardens, yes.
Acacia Gardens, have the residents been notified of the, will the net residents be notified of the construction that's gonna be taking place next door to them? Cause it's pretty much directly next door, correct?
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is adjacent to their building. They will be notified. Acacia, as an organization, is very aware that this is coming. As you get closer to actually starting construction, we'll do a more formal notice to the neighbors. We'll also to Wagner.
Yeah, how will you be combating the rat problems that usually come from construction?
It's a good question, and I mean it's part of our work plan. We'll have a rodent control will be part of our work plan.
Alright, and last quick question, sorry, you mentioned the parking lot was gonna be a part of this project, it's not the one in that building, correct?
So where the parking lot is currently is where the new residential tower will be built.
Okay, and that was the one that's like kind of to the side of where the community center is currently?
So the community center parking lot there's a lot of parking lots there. So there is a small parking area that has a handball court on it that is part of the Wagner campus. And so that's not part of our development. But we have been talking with NYCHA about as we sort of restore the edges of our property, like how we can also sort of improve that edge. But what the parking lot that would be impacted is the parking lot that's directly behind the current multi-service center, which is within the blue box there.
Alright, I know which one you're talking about now, thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Hi, how are you? My name is Arnice. I just have not particularly a question, just an potential observation. The US Postal Service for some of the people, including the seniors, is there a process for them to be set up so that they don't miss their mail and stuff like that during the transition process into their new location?
So there's no residential tenants that are impacted as part of this work. These are only commercial tenants. But we'll be working with them to move their mail over to the temporary relocation space in advance of the construction.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Marcel. I have a question. So you mentioned that there were current non-for-profits already expected to be part of this and room for more, how many do you expect or can the space hold?
It really depends on the space needs. I mean, we have space for at least a handful of additional tenants, but it really some of these groups have the 7 groups that are there now. Some of them, take up a room in the current building, and some of them take up more than a floor in the building. So it really obviously depends on the scale of the organization.
Okay, thank you.
So a follow-up question to that question is, was there any promise that you would get a bigger space if you, I mean, not bigger, but like if you had a room, could you get a room and a half? Since I would be an inconvenience, or like, was there any incentive to enhance the space that those organizations already have?
Well, we didn't promise more spaces. I mean, we asked what their needs were, if the organizations were feeling like they were squeezed and needed more space. Or, sometimes some of the groups were decided to downsize, and some of the groups decided that, that were only a couple people decided that they didn't sort of need to be inconvenienced by the renovation and sort of found their own space. But the incentive has really been that we're going to, we're pretty much gutting the inside of this building and building it back into something that's going to work a lot better. And so we worked with each tenant on the layouts of their spaces to make sure that they were right. We've heard that, the current internet in the building is spotty and a struggle for these organizations, and we're going to be putting in a whole new IT system as part of this. So there, we haven't had to dangle too many extra carrots, so we've just, been trying to work as a good partner and giving them a better space to work from.
Okay.
And were they promised the same rent in the new building?
So we promised that we would keep rents affordable. I mean, so their rents currently have been slowly going up over time. And, we're expecting to keep sort of in line with those sort of general increases especially for the existing tenants. It doesn't do us any good to try to jack rents either. Like, we want to keep these tenants here and we want to make it affordable for them. And so, we've all been working together to keep that commitment and to make that happen.
Any other questions? Are there, I want to open the space up to anybody in the Zoom area. Are there any hands up in the Zoom space? I see one hand from Stephanie Thompson. Hi Stephanie, is your question in relation to this presentation?
Hi, yes, the question is related to the presentation. So first, thank you. The building is beautiful. I pass it on my walks through the community sometimes, and I think it's going to be wonderful to read through the space. My only question is what is the plan in place for parking and traffic? The reason I ask this is because a lot of groups come in the community and they do projects, and I don't think you guys always take into consideration like the traffic and how it messes up the blocks and just how it goes on for a long period of time. So I just wanted to know if you guys had a plan in place, and if not, can you get a plan in place to make sure that the people who live in the surrounding area, on top of the people that have to move, but the community members in the area are not affected by the blocks being blocked off, or just regular day-to-day things when you're doing construction in the community. Thank you.
Sure. So I can take a stab at it. I think the question was mostly around the impacts during construction. I will say, for the parking for the operators of the space, we are, like we said, eliminating the parking lot, but what we're going to be working with DOT on is trying to get a drop-off location in front of the building, and so that these groups at least have the ability for people coming to the building that have space to be dropped off and not impact traffic going forward. But with that said, I'll focus on construction. So we're trying to work very closely with NYCHA, and we've had really good conversations with NYCHA to do the majority of our construction staging, the construction trailer, the crane location, to locate that on that site, that little parking site in NYCHA's property during construction, and so that we would minimize the impact to the street and to traffic. And so it seems promising so far, but NYCHA is a big organization. It takes time to work through, but our goal is to try to minimize that impact during construction. And that's also part of how we've been talking about sort of some of the improvements along that NYCHA property line. It's all sort of coming together that way.
So when you say NYCHA, are you speaking about Wagner houses?
Yeah, sorry, I should say, yeah, specifically
So
Wagner
you're
houses.
planning on putting the crane and your operating stuff in Wagner houses?
No, in some of that, there's some parking area adjacent to the senior center that we would look to have some construction staging on.
Is that parking lot allotted for the community members that live in the development though?
It's not an active parking lot. It's sort of a empty section of blacktop right now.
Okay, I hope so.
So
Thank
no,
you.
we're not taking any current existing parking spaces.
Thank you, Stephanie, for your question. Okay, I'll keep us moving. Are there any other questions from any committee members?
Well, I had the question about the rents, but they haven't come up with it.
Sure. So yeah, we do have an appendix to this
You said you had
presentation with a
a
lot
chart.
more information. So James, I don't know if you can still share. Do you want to pop that up?
Here we go. So this is the breakdown for the percentage of units that will be at each level of area median income. On the left, you see the area median income level, the maximum income, which starts at the low end here for a single person household up to a family of 6. And same goes for the maximum rent that would be for a studio up to a 3-bedroom. These are based on the 2024 AMIs that are public on HPD's website. And as this project progresses, this is continuing to hopefully be solidified, and we can deliver this, project to the community at this percentage of units at each AMI tier. But yeah, happy to answer any questions, both from the HPD side or the developer side.
I'm sorry, did you just say how the AMI tiers are or did you say that you could, I guess my question, I'm sorry if I blinked on you, because I had another question. I'll come right back to this. Can I just ask my question so it comes out of my head, but I wanted to stay here for a second. The question was about how this renovation of these apartment buildings above, this is a question I forgot to ask in the beginning. So with this new renovation, there's gonna be, stuff happening in the building that wasn't necessarily happening in the buildings before, because there's now residential housing, a lot more water, a lot of different types of things happening in the building. How will that impact the sensors? Like if there's flooding in the apartment buildings, how will that impact the programs in the buildings on the lower floors? That's the question I wanted to get out of my head, but I guess I just wanted to know, how can I find out more information on how these AMIs are determined? Sorry if that was a lot. I can repeat it if you want.
No, it's great. James, do you want to take the AMI question, and then I'll take the flooding question?
Yeah, well, the AMI question, we actually have a great presentation that we did this summer with Community Board 11. So it's actually on your YouTube page, where Melissa and I and my teammate Agatha, we did a affordable housing financing presentation. It's a little long and monotonous, but now that it's recorded, you can kind of scroll through it a bit. But there's a lot of components that go into determining the best AMI levels. There's city subsidy is a limited resource, and we try to stretch it across multiple projects. And so, developers like Ascendant and the community builders will propose what we call underwriting, basically that is a budget that takes into account cities' funding sources and others, and then we try to determine how many AMI tiers are needed to fulfill the program's needs. In terms of this program being under the extremely low and low income affordability, the team will be required to get just about 50% of those units at the 50 or lower tier. So that includes for the formerly homeless, 30%, 40%, 50%. So just an FYI there.
And
Thank
and
you.
just to clarify, the numbers, the AMI incomes are set at the federal level, regionally across the country. So
Okay.
for New York, the New York region, metropolitan region, the federal government figures out what the area median income is, and then this is a percentage of that, like 100% number.
Thank you very much. And that was the August 7th meeting. You were at the executive committee. That's what you presented?
No, we had no, it was not a committee meeting. It was specifically just a forum with HPD representatives. And we had it at the museum. Oh my God, I forget which one right now. It's not Museum for the City of New York, I believe.
No, it was at Museo del Barrio, but
yeah, and we do have the recording on our website, so I'll make sure to forward that over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, cool. That's great. Okay, yes, next question, and then we want to move on from this on our agenda, but yes, how will these apartment buildings impact the buildings with the floors below?
So the new residential building is being built completely above the floodplain, so that the units won't be impacted by flooding. The current multi-service center, which already has an elevated first floor, we are flood proofing what's happening at the below that and the cellar, the sort of cellar level, and then all of the first floor and up is all above the floodplain. We're also, in addition to just sort of the physically making it higher, we're also, both buildings are going to have emergency generators that would be used in case of an emergency where the power was shut down.
And a fire in one building would impact the other building?
The buildings are completely separate. I think maybe that wasn't clear, but they're physically two separate buildings, and you can't travel between one and the other. You have to come out and go around.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Yeah, I'll leave you. I know you guys want to go through a ton more questions throughout the rest of this month with all of the committees. Did you?
No,
yeah. So what other committees are you guys on?
So we'll be at land use on Wednesday, but we'll be at the full board. We'll be in person at the full board public hearing on the 24th of September.
Any reason why you guys are not presenting at the housing committee?
I think that was last week.
Yeah,
it's the first one.
Go ahead, Jim. Sorry, you were saying? Right, it was last week. But Marlene oversees that committee. I don't know what the agenda was. I would have to go check.
Just wondering. All right, if there's no more questions from anyone, thank you very much for presenting on this to us. I'm looking forward to seeing the project come to fruition. I'll sure I'll have more questions that I'll bring to you the land use for full board. So thank you very, very much for your patience and for your presentation today.
Thank you so much for having us. I also want to add that if you have questions, you can submit them written, and we can provide written responses as well. But also happy to take them at land use.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, folks. See you. Have a good night.
All right, you all. All right.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
What would it have to do with human services?
Because the services being provided inside of that multi-service center are human services programs.
All 7?
No, I can pull back up the slide.
Yeah, I know I bet,
See the
but
seven.
I wanna know which of the seven is human services.
I have to look back at some of them. I didn't look
It
at all of them.
didn't appear to be.
And the slides are also on our website, and it's already if you need it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, some of them would be, you wanna see, because Operation Fight Back. is definitely
Yeah, that's
one.
what the
Yeah.
But that was why. That was why. And also specific to remind me, to like, remember us because of this. And I did specifically, I think, because of that. I'm trying to look for the presentation slides.
I'm pretty sure
Oh, you said it's on the
three-
website too.
Yes.
three were DYCD from what I could see from over
I
there.
could tell you, so we got East Harlem Council for Community Improvement, 100 Hispanic Women Incorporated, I'm not sure what they do. East Harlem Neighborhood Based Alliance Corp. We have Hellgate Management, Abralios, Operation Fight Back, Goodwill Industries for the Greater New York and Northern New Jersey, and then Cherry Kids. So, yeah, I mean, if we can go and look at those, but I'm sure their services in some ways overlap with,
All right.
you know, some of the purview of human services. And our purview is pretty broad in that, we're dealing with, health, we're dealing with mental health, we're dealing with a bit of homelessness, we're dealing with immigration, incarceration, and so we got human services. So if there's a service this, an organization probably provides, then it would probably, this is like a lot of this in its fullness are social services, one way or another. So that's our purview in that, ensuring that folks are getting the right social services, whether they be intersecting with education or other things. Okay. Thank you for that. All right, I'm gonna transition us out of this and into the final part of our meeting. I'm not gonna rush. If y'all want to, I'm excited about the vote. But we're still gonna make time, we're in good place. Right now, this is a lot of information, so let's talk about it. This is the time, there's no more presentation, so this is just us in the room right now having this conversation. This is where we are doing some work on specifically. This is like the most important work I wanna say we do is advocating for our community through the district needs. You know, where we get to actually make some legitimate budget requests to the city in hopes that they will be honored and funded. That's the first form in which, you know, and I think that's the most important. And we come in September and October, right in sort of the thicket of that. This month, I'm going to just be giving you just basic overview information right now, and then we'll go through the results of the survey that was taken this summer. And Philly, this was a question I had and I didn't ask you earlier. Is it still open until or is it closed? Because it was still
No,
open.
it should still be
It
open.
still should be open, right?
I would have to take a look. Let me see.
Okay, no, I saw it yesterday, it was open, that's what I'm asking. So inside of your emails you all got from Marlene.
Oh, yes.
Yes, Marlene sent everyone inside of the agenda, she sent you a bunch of documents. I'm gonna try to summarize those now so that it doesn't seem so overwhelming, but over the month, please do go back and look at the documents and let's talk. My goal, and this was my plan, it is actually to follow up with every one of you guys individually this month before October. I couldn't get to it before, but I wanted to make sure I got an email out at least to y'all to just get some information out. But I want to just be able to build with everyone and just ensure that you guys are comfortable with the drive, comfortable with the different documents, where to find stuff. When we're talking about this, what does that mean, X, Y, Z, stuff like that. Just wanted to just build with everybody and see where everyone is individually at. So we can just, I know how to work with everybody as a team and just be most efficient in what we do. From here, and we'll just look at the district, the survey results, because the survey results are live. So the survey's still up, but the results are live.
Did you want to go through your presentation?
I do, I'm gonna go through them right now. Sorry, so I'm just giving my long practice, so.
Yes, I'll stop sharing. Thank you for going over the slides.
Yes.
We'll go over the.
We're going through that right now. So I'm not gonna go through everything on the slides. I had a plan, so anyway, so I just wanted to be clear, but I did want to have the model in order to, at the very least, just give you. Lead, I might need you for this. Lead, I might need you for this.
Sure.
I'm gonna just email you the slide with it.
Okay.
Because I reset my computer and I'm sure one of my permissions is not letting me share screen. No, but yeah, so what's up there? So, these slides are just consistent of the same information you were given inside of your email. So if you are on a document and you want to pull it up and follow along and look deeper, you can do that. If not, you can also follow along on the screen. That's perfectly fine. This is just a lot of information right now, just so we all, just understand, you know, that's in there. I think I'll send you there. Yeah, that did not send you that. I'm gonna just reply to that email.
You leave another request?
The same one I just sent you, the slides that. That, it should be there, it should be coming. If you want to get, well, you know, go through it this way, we don't have to necessarily.
As long as everyone can see it. You can all see it?
I can, if everyone can see it. And you don't need to read anything on it, because I'm gonna talk about it, and you have it in your document, so just, one second. Just, again, this is just information, Q&A, and we're gonna definitely ask you questions to just throughout the process, because, this is our opportunity, you all, to learn about how we, just do our budget process, but for me, every year, I still ask a lot of the same questions, and still have to like get reacclimated with specifics, but every year I get a little bit more clear and more clear, so. So one of the things I think was great in that document, all of those documents that, Marlon sent around is that there is a glossary of key terminology for the community district leads. So now a lot of the language that you may see inside of the documents, that we're sending around. There's a glossary for them, so you understand what those means, what those acronyms mean. So that's a very, very helpful resource. I didn't put it in the slide. This is just the slide that lets you know that it exists. It's in your email. Martin will send it to you. Definitely use it as a resource. I also put it in Google Drive, which I will talk to you about. That's cool. Let's go. We can go to the second slide. So this here is this was also a document that was sent to you in the email, but it gives you just a summary of what is the statement of community district needs. And so it's made up of three main components. The top three pressing issues in the community, the most important issue by policy area, and the community board budget requests, which is what we'll be working on going out of this meeting and going and throughout the fullness of next month's meeting. So that's it also, this document also gives some information on how, the statement of community, the statement of community district needs is used, you know, so if you want to understand like how what we say in this room makes its way all the way up to, you know, the mayor's office, you know, this is that process, you know, and us making these requests, as a community board and then being, passed through and being passed on to our city council, as part of our district. So then we can go to the next slide. If there's any questions, ask. If I don't have the answer, I'm just gonna ask immediately. So I feel like we're in good. Okay, this also talks about, you know, what is the timeline of the community district, of the needs process. Right, right now, I'll go from just really quickly from March to August is the review of the fiscal year report and documents related to the adopted budget. That's where we would make comments and rebuttals, right, to lead on the mayor's adopted budget. So when we see what the mayor say, this is gonna be our budget, we get a chance to rebuttal and give some feedback on that. That happened earlier for fiscal year 25. We are now going to be working on fiscal year 26, just so everyone is clear about the year. So not fiscal year 25, because that budget has already been adopted, but we are working on fiscal year 26. So August to September, the draft community district needs submission and solicitation feedback from others. So this is the time where that survey that was sent to you by Marlene is out. And I would encourage you to share it. Because the data is still being tracked. I feel like honestly, a lot of the same people fill out the form. So it would be really good if we got, you know, different people or just more people to fill it out. You know, we could get, you know, more input, more feedback, from community members. October, we submit the community district needs and budget requests. So we'll be finalizing what requests we'll be submitting. This document that, each of you, I'm getting ahead of myself a bit, but this document that I had printed out, everyone, a hard copy, you have that inside of your email, but you could also skim through it now because it highlights what our requests have looked like already. We didn't pull up the tracker for this, but we're using this document and I'm getting off of this sheet right now. So that's the October time, and then in January through March is the review, response, and engage, review agency budget, request responses. Stuff like that. So feel like I said a lot. If there's any questions, please ask. If not yet, it's okay. If I didn't say anything, please jump in and help.
Any questions? Of course, we're in August, September, moving into October.
Yes.
Timeline, so of course, just we'll go over the survey responses and you'll think about that as you help craft the budget requests for fiscal year 2026, which we're going to be submitting by October 29th, by Halloween, essentially. So, you know, what you see here, in the hard copy papers, you know, just look at the, especially the responses from OMB and determine, you know, what you think is still relevant, if it needs to be revised, updated, if you think that, or if you are definitely aware of, you know, a certain project or request actually being funded, so it's not relevant anymore, right? So, you know, making room for other requests. So that's going to be your assignment for this month for going into October.
I think October full board is literally the day that it's due, so are we voting for this in October?
Yes, we're finalizing everything, and so ideally all the committees should be finalizing their requests in October. And we have, I mean, like, the deadline is that date, but you know, they'll give us like a grace period, of course, to submit everything, but
Yeah.
yes, we want everything finalized and submitted by October.
So you're asking for us to like send you, look over this and then send you.
Nothing yet, not asking anything yet. I just want to get through the information and then we'll talk for a few minutes and then we'll leave with some homework. But he just gave us an overview of what we will be past, what we will have to look through and come up with our own, or just revise what we have, or, you know, we'll see what we want to do. So I want to just really quickly go through these next few slides. You can go to the next one, please. Thank you. So this, so specifically when we are talking about specific needs we have, those needs are placed. So we have needs for healthcare facilities, needs for older, our purview, health and human services. Needs for healthcare facilities, needs for older New Yorkers, needs for homeless New Yorkers, and needs for low-income New Yorkers. Now, remember I said our purview is very broad, so we fall under that in a lot of different varied ways, but there are specific agencies we target for our money, right? We ask only a few agencies. Youth and education, they asked a few city agencies, and different committees asked their own agencies. So I wanted to just go through. So one agency we asked is DOHMH, the Department of Mental Health and Hygiene. And in this, this is also inside, again, this is inside of the emails Marlene sent you all. I only extracted our committee, so you'll see this, and then you'll also say youth and education as well. But generally, needs will be categorized as such. So, based on whatever we're saying there's a need for, we would categorize it, and then there would be like request types under those needs. Could we go to the next organization? So another organization we deal with is Health and Hospitals Corporation, so HHC. So some of our requests are related to healthcare facilities, and, provide a new encampment or expand your health services, or just renovate or upgrade, replace or upgrade information technology. What do people need for the services they get at a place to be enhanced? Or what do people just need, period? So that's another agency. Could we go to the next slide? DHS. I feel like this is an agency we don't target as much, but we should a lot more. And I definitely, you all know the need and see the need in East Harlem, because you live here and you move through the streets. So we definitely need to step up our advocacy and towards DHS as well. But facilities for homelessness, and then also services for the homeless, things like that. Those sort of needs, there are request types for that, okay. Anytime.
I was saying, especially with winter right around the corner, we have to figure it out.
Yeah. Yes, and then another organization is HRA, and I'm glad that we have some experience with HRA in the room. So you can definitely help us to step up.
And Hustler.
And yes.
I worked at Hustler too.
Okay.
That's HIV.
Okay. Okay, great. So, definitely, as you become more comfortable with the process, definitely leaning in and helping us to strengthen our requests that go to HRA, that's another organization. And then I think the last one is DIFTA, which is the Department of Aging, Department for the Aging. So this is definitely supporting our seniors and the people aging in place, Yeah, I would say for me personally, I've gotten to learn a lot more about the issues that impact older adults through my new church that I'm, where a huge part of the congregation is, over 60 years old, and you kind of hear some of the issues that folks are going through. And again, Robin has also been a very informative person for committee members and helping us to understand, the importance of advocating through DIFTA too. So this is important. We definitely don't want to forget about people who are aging in place. There's, definitely a shortage of food programs. The mayor just cut, a bunch of money from the Meals on Wheels program, I believe. And, the committee actually wrote a letter in opposition to his budget cuts recently, because some of them impact, our folks who are aging in place. So, yeah, so let's just say a little different. Anything, Jim? No. All right, okay, so cool. I think that was the last slide. I feel like, right before we go into that, to really quickly, please, I just want to take, Jen, and if you don't mind, for like just a few, minutes, could you just cover, just a few minutes about the document we had started to create? I can't share that, but I can't share screen, but I can share that over with you right now, please. Our committee has been working, and I sent this to everyone in my first email to you all. I sent you a link to this. It's a prospective budget request for Human Services Committee. And the reason I'm sharing it is, and I'm bringing it up again, is because it has been consistent with, the issues we've been confronted with over the past 2 years, especially with respects to, mental health and substance abuse and addiction treatment programs. But also just like, to the extent that, crime and violence on the street overlaps with any issues where we have the purview of the Human Services Committee. We did create some requests that were consistent with, our budget, with our advocacy. So if we say, hey, we take this position, when we go to make budget requests, they are in line with that position. Just to be more clear what I'm saying. So, Ali, can you, were you able to? This evening, I shared. Okay, thank you, I appreciate you. Sorry, that was the last minute. I just, cause, Jen has been putting in a lot of work and,
Yeah, we have this, did you share this spreadsheet?
this spreadsheet. No, so, the spreadsheet is linked to this.
Okay, perfect.
It's linked right inside of this.
Yeah, so the end of last year, put together a list of kind of like every topic that we've either seen before the board or that we wish we saw before the board or that people have talked to us about. So Isaac and I had initially come up with some possible budget requests and I just kind of put that all into a spreadsheet. I don't know if you can get to the spreadsheet.
Could you go, they should go down some, should be. Oh, maybe. I think it was, yeah.
Yes. So it's not quite filled out yet, and Isaac, I sent you to some things today, because it's not filled out yet, so. So we have kind of the first column B, sorry, second column, has like all of the different issues or different things that we have seen or that we're interested in funding or getting presentations on, just getting more information about. So I won't go through all of them because there's 52 of them.
Yeah.
So we can create our whole district needs and budget just off of human services if we wanted to.
Right.
So if you want to take a look at this and put any feedback in, I think Isaac, maybe we can like separately talk about this and pull out the ones that we want to push forward through this year. But I think over the next few years, we want to kind of see all of these in some way addressed, even if it's not through a budget item, if it's through partnerships with organizations in the community that are already working on this, just highlighting initiatives that are already being done, having presentations. But again, there's 50 something of them, so it spans everything from drug treatment facilities, which we see a lot of, and addressing over policing and disability support, sexual assault, behavioral health, affordable childcare. So this is just kind of get all of our thoughts in one place. So if you want to, I know it's like a daunting spreadsheet, but if you just want to look it over and have anything to fill in, any potential budget language you'd like to see, which is column E. If you have any like research, like, for some of the budget items, I've just been doing research, so we have that research to back up why we're asking for this. And then also any possible agenda items or collaborations, if you know an organization or you have information, if you're connected to someone or something in the community that you would like to come before the board to speak on that particular issue.
Thank you, Jen. So let me just make another clarifying point. Thank you very much, James. That made me think about something. So just so y'all understand, the differences in between the sheet you have in front of you and that is that those are prospective. Those are the ones we put in last year. And those were the responses we got. So we may not need to change much, but we may need to change much. So that's you know, we essentially. What Jen is saying is that we want to, you know, over time implement, see all of these sort of addressed by this committee, whether they be through the budget process or through us doing events or doing collaborations with other organizations. So we're looking at meeting the community district needs in several ways. If, you know, we're not just, we know we're doing the budget now, but we're also looking like, okay, so after October, how do we keep, you know, our foot on the pedal of advocating for these things? So that's more like that. But regarding, I would say, specific like instructions leaving out of this meeting with is that please review that document that has our previous, you know, we can look through, I do want to look through some of that right now, just like 1 or 2 of them, not too much. Jamie. Just so you can get a sense of how they respond. So that's why I want to go through some of this, so you can see the type of responses we get. But the homework would be, get familiar with this right here, the request, the explanation, and then the agency response. Right. We're also going to share back with you specifically the spreadsheet Jen mentioned with some clear, just like feedback, and just recapping what she said, you know, look through this, let's see how we can incorporate some of it. And then we'll come back next month, and then that's when we'll actually work out some of it. And it doesn't have to wait until next month. If you want to send over thoughts, ideas, language suggestions, anything, it would be better to send it beforehand because then we have it ready, you know. But if we want to work on it on the floor, that's fine. The only thing that I ask, and people they gave me a lot of shit for it, but I don't care. I'm just gonna ask people to come and be prepared to work, you know, because next month will be a bit more, because we'll have to be really tweaking our language, and Marlene will be here, she's gonna make sure we do it right. And we wanna make sure we're putting everything in right, and we're being reasonable about our requests and all of those things. So it'll be a pretty, it won't be tense because we cool, we won't be good, but just come prepared with as much, you know, questions or, you know, preparation as possible, just so that we can work, and it's not just like 2 of us, you know, really making decisions, because that's usually how it works. Like most people, it's usually like the chair and another person doing most of the work on committees, and I'm gonna work against that on this committee, because I know I need all of you guys, you know, so, yeah, so the homework is nothing but to just review the documents, but let's really quickly, I'm gonna just read like the first one: create and promote programs to destigmatize mental health needs and encourage treatment. The explanation for that request was that the rate of adult psychiatric hospitalization in East Harlem is nearly triple the citywide. There's a staff there. Funding should be targeted to improve programming in East Harlem. Supportive programs should be developed and better targeted to particular populations to encourage people to reach out and get help before needing hospitalization, so that their mental health needs can be positively managed. Programs should annually assess and evaluate to provide assistance with jobs, housing, education, medical issues, and any other needs that this vulnerable population may have. The agency response was on these supports. The agency's provision as follows: a person experiencing a behavioral health crisis in a home, shelter, or other residents can be connected with assistance through 988. 988 will perform a risk assessment and de-escalation. Counselors can connect callers to service-based or risk and need. This includes mobile crisis teams, crisis respite centers, outpatient programs, comprehensive psychiatric emergency programs, health and engagement teams, co-response teams. But if you see they didn't answer we didn't ask for that. We asked for more programming around destigmatizing it. You're right, so they didn't give up that, when you see how they subverted or rather circumvented what we asked for and just talked about how people can get services. But the issue we were highlighting is that people don't want to pursue those services because they're so highly stigmatized.
Right, how do
So,
you
how
break
do
the
you-
stigma?
Yes.
I think also just like responding to their response in a way, which I think we have to do sometimes. It's been shown that 988, like, people be waiting upwards of like maybe an hour or half an hour. And in a crisis situation, that's not gonna help people, so.
So maybe we should re-articulate this in that, and in our justification, 988 has shown issues in X, Y, Z, and
Yeah.
so our advocacy changes a bit. So those are areas where we should, that's why it's important to read these and read how they answer, so you can see like how they'll be like, this is some of the answers, further study by agency if this request is needed. That was for the second request. Right, third request.
The favorite response.
That's a favorite one, right? Further study, that's the thing. We got that for a few of them.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So you can see how they, but then I'm also a person, I'm just coming
Does
out
not
of,
take a position, any position.
yeah, so my background, just coming out of Columbia, I believe in research and producing research. So when we're met with like those sort of responses, like further study is needed, I would say we should come back in our responses or our next set of requests with data, to support everything we ask.
Fine, like we have that research column, like there's so many universities, there's not a shortage of research
Yeah.
on our community.
Actually, that was gonna be my question is do we have an analysis or a data source to compare what was asked, what was funded, and if any of those services have increased so that we can come back to say, you haven't addressed it then when we asked, and now this is this, and this is why we're asking again, because if we can show consistent non-responsiveness to the question,
Right.
you can better hold them accountable for it. Like from my experience, which you'll learn a lot, from my perspective as a city, I was a manager very young, which you all hear the story eventually, but I became a manager very young. So I was sitting at the table very early on of my 33-year career, and some of these answers are designed for people who don't call people out for that stuff. And it's people making these decisions, and that's what I believe we should come from a perspective of your person. So a person needs to be answering these questions with some transparency and some clarity and some urgency, because if we don't, from what I've experienced, not just from an employee, but from a resident, we're gonna be sitting here with these same answers for 10 years.
That's true.
Yeah, so thank you for saying, I think we should target that in a few ways. We can target that. We also have to revise our summary in the statement of district needs that goes out, where we can speak to the lack of transparency by the city to, provide, and actually give us the information we need. So we can articulate it there, and we can also just like, let that be a narrative that that's highlighted at our meetings, like the lack of transparency, and we can also take a position on that, email people in the city about it, and so we can do that.
And the reason why I say that is just what Asha said, I'm doing both sides of the spectrum is that Department of Homeless Services or Department of Mental Health is, we might say we need more services for people with mental health, but they have to advocate for a bigger budget for personnel. And you can't keep, which is what's happening in city government now, particularly in the police department, is the mayor is adding more and more responsibility onto police officers and not adding more police officers. So it's a lack of response time for a lot of these services when you're not increasing, not just personnel, because we just don't need people to be hired, but we need experienced, licensed, professional people to be hired. And if that's not being advocated for, you can ask for 18 programs. And they're either gonna divvy them up amongst the current employees that they have who are now disgruntled and overworked and not being paid and not even experienced enough to deliver the services, or they wanna keep saying, we'll monitor it and get back to you next year.
Well, there's definitely a need for, and thank you for that, that was very well said, there's definitely a need for more personnel. in my experiences with people with mental health and mental health issues and the lack of resources, whenever speaking with the individuals that work in those departments, they always say we're understaffed. We have a big caseload.
Yeah.
We're trying. So that's where there's a major disconnect. They need more personnel. When they do obtain more personnel, we'll be able to do more outreach and, you know, connect with the individuals that need it, but we definitely need to train people. Definitely do.
And hire professionals.
Professional that, yes,
Just taking up space.
exactly,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there's that too.
So, yeah, so that, I hope that wasn't overwhelming at all. It didn't feel overwhelming to me. So.
So when we
I
do
hope
the
that
response, do you have a main, place where we could park these, or we're just sending you
Yeah,
individually?
we're gonna, yeah, so we have the, you wanna hear?
Yeah, in the Excel document, you can put anything you want in there.
Cause I can't find the link to it. I
Yeah, we
saw
can
it.
send it to
Yeah,
you.
we can just send it right now.
Okay, cause I have the one where it's linked into, but I can't find the link.
And there's also like the last column is just notes, so like you aren't sure if it should be a budget or if it should be, you can just put anything you want in the notes section and we'll be sure to read that.
I'm happy to send you a follow-up email to everyone tomorrow. Is that cool?
That'll be great.
That's fine.
Send it to you. Yeah, all right, so yeah, that's just our homework. Let's just educate ourselves on, you know, the issues. The document that I'm gonna send you back will be the prospective budgets in the spreadsheet that Jay created. That lets you know what we've been looking at, and then you'll see what we already have in front of you, what we went through last year. So you can kind of compare, and then just, you know, lean in with your expertise. And, you know, another thing is we can't put everything in. And most likely only a few of ours from this committee will even get through anyway, because that's another thing. Could you just give us just a
They usually accept like maybe about, I wanna say between 30 to 50 budget requests from the community board. So even if, let's say, a committee decides to submit 20, a couple of those are just gonna be selected and we'll get the response in our budget register for the following year. So ideally, what you guys as a committee would do is, you know, you would interact with your stakeholders throughout the year and identify, you know, the most pressing issues that you wanna advocate for. So, like we were just discussing, like the HIV, STI epidemic that's here in East Harlem.
I didn't know that, tell you, I've been retired for a bit, but I thought that had been, kind of taken care of.
Well, in the
You say it's
last,
the highest in the city here?
I'm not saying it's the highest,
Oh.
but like say, it's an issue that we have here, right? So in our last statement of needs, we had highlighted that our seniors here, their exposure to HIV is higher than the average, the citywide average. So we have at least placed that in our statement of needs. So if throughout the year, you have a group of organizations or a number of organizations that say like, hey, you know, we're having these problems and we're trying to reduce this awareness and we're running into these issues. And in your statement of needs for the subsequent year, you would say, hey, well, we've had a number of studies and individuals and organizations come to us highlighting this problem and their lack of funding, blah, 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 so forth. Here's our reasoning for advocating for additional funding to support these specific organizations and programs, et cetera, so forth. And that's also what I wanted to point out, to be as more specific as possible, because your responses, if OMB is gonna take advantage of that and give you, you know, lackluster responses. So say, for example, right here, explanation, more peer support, outreach workers and social workers are needed in CB11 to provide information and support for people suffering from a drug addiction. These workers should specifically be employed with individuals on these street corridors, social workers, drug dealer users enrolled in port diversion programs. So I would say here, like, you know, which social workers for what organization are you specifically, you know, so OMB basically says further submitted agency of this request is needed, therefore they will take a position. Because you haven't really given them anything to work with. So I would suggest being as specific as possible. Say like, these organizations have been handling this case workload and they have not been able to deliver the services up to this standards. And we need we're advocating for additional funding for them. But then you'd also have to be careful because OMB would also say to you, for example, that we already have a program in place, like say the first one that we have here, right? Where you're saying that the rate of adult psychiatric hospitalization, so forth. And then OMB just said to you, well, they already have this service 988 that does X, Y, Z. And then they call it, right? So you have to be as specific as possible. This is my recommendation.
Thank you for that.
No problem.
So, I have nothing else and I'm only 10 minutes behind.
Did you want me to go over the server results really quick?
Oh, yeah.
Because I can do that.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll just go.
Because those are also, so just, we'll go through some of them now, but they're also in the email Marlene sent. So you can see like, live, share, please share that survey with you. So you can get more people. I'll put that in my email tomorrow too.
All right, so for you guys, as discussed earlier, we usually try to get the top 3 pressing issues: affordable housing, crime and public safety, and quality of life issues. But also versus trash and removal. So, not necessarily. I mean, you could have some kind of conversation regarding public safety, but your specific sectors, you'll follow down here: healthcare and human services, which is number 4. You look at, what the community residents have said. It seems like the most important so far is access to healthy food and lifestyle programs. You can look into the specific responses, services to reduce, prevent homelessness, just substance abuse. I didn't see this color, sorry. Mental health and substance abuse treatment, that's the highest one, perfect. Yes.
You
Okay,
should
so,
read what people are saying in those too, because they're
Yes.
actually really interesting.
yes.
There's a lot of responses, but people are like, after every question, you get to answer, why did you pick that?
Correct.
Yes.
Youth and education will be focused on it, but you can also look at child welfare issues as well. This, juvenile justice services for at-risk youth, that could fall under human services purview. After school programs, some more education related. Workforce development. So you can take a look at that and see if there's anything.
So things like employment would fall under human services too, because it doesn't really have a place anywhere. It could fall under youth and education, it could fall under economic development, right? But it could also fall under human services.
So where would summer youth fall under? I'm pretty sure that's youth and education.
That's yeah, that's the Department of.
Yeah, so
Youth.
DYCD,
That's
yeah, alright.
You should actually be careful.
Well, I know, I just wanna make sure, cause you're saying employment, and I heard you say you've been something.
Yes, I mean,
That sounds like
that's why.
something that we put up, yeah.
Let's see, let me just make sure that we have other ones, it might just be going to the
I
top.
don't think the city takes forever to hire. You pass the test and they don't call you maybe for 5 or 6 years. So.
That's crazy.
Okay, so those are what's up to focus on, human services at the top.
I'm actually my goal is to screenshot some of this for you guys and put it in slides with the slides that is, well, I don't know if you have in the document. But my goal is to make the information you look through a lot easier and simplified, so I'll definitely look through what was already sent to you, but you can expect an email from me in the morning. With the sheet that is mentioned return instructions. Yeah. I might even do the minutes that so that the recording, if I get it done, I can probably do it tomorrow.
Make sure it's out. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you finished with this?
I feel like if are there any questions? Does anyone feel like people feel like comfortable next month with what we're doing between now and next month?
You can also feel free to reach out to us at the office at any time if you have questions. We'll talk.
You here every day?
I'm not, but he is.
I'm sorry.
But yeah.
As your preferred method of contact.
You can email,
Email.
or you can call. I mean, we have.
But you could, that could also hit me too. I would answer for just.
So I didn't know you were inside, cause I was outside. I didn't know that all you had to do was ring the bell.
Yes, that's right.
We were wondering.
I was sitting by the restaurant. The guy said, what are you standing out here for?
No.
He said, what are you doing?
The bell
Waiting to get in?
or knock the door. Knock the door.
I would just suggest that you have enough time between now and when you finalize the request to just try to compare the most prioritized issue that is on the request now to what was delivered in your previous request. For just a more, stable ammo, you know, like to say, if it's still a priority. I just wanted to know what the comparison is, so since we weren't here for, 25. I mean, 24. but-
Okay, oh, you want the previous responses?
Well, no, what was delivered from what was submitted, so if you submitted, like you said, 20, 2 were accepted, were those delivered?
I see, okay,
Yeah.
well, that's also a thing that we're trying to do in terms of having a tracker to compare from, you know, what
Yeah.
happened between 2022 and 2026, and what was funded, and what was, what hasn't been addressed. And,
Cause if it wasn't even addressed, then that's a given, we would just continue to toil on that, but if it was delivered, then I would like to know
Of course,
what happened,
right,
yeah.
right.
And if it's still something that we should still be focusing on for increase.
Okay. Okay. I feel like then I should have probably. I'm gonna still email tomorrow. I will talk to Marlene. I just so that I can ensure that we push out everything we need. And then, yeah, that's good. All right. My goal is to not make it overwhelming, but also make sure everyone is as informed and as prepared, because all we just needed to do is suck in information. Definitely look at like the community's input, because that's what is going to inform us. You know, I don't want to spend time on it. But yeah, any questions?
Hi, Alita here. I don't have any question there, but I just wanted to, sorry if I scared you.
Lita Chikambu, she is one of the board committee members.
How you doing, Alita? Pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you too. Hi, Isaac. Hi, everyone. No, I just wanted to say that I will definitely be reaching out because I realize that there's a lot to cover and read. So I'm gonna go do my homework, and I'm glad that you guys are open if we need to reach out. So thank you, and thank you, Isaac, for trying really to make everything not to be too overwhelming. It's kind of intimidating because I'm new to this. So thank
No
you.
problem. No problem. And if you gotta ask the same question over and over and over, it's okay. I do it all the time.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, if there's nothing else, we can adjourn.
Oh, what you gotta go through?
We don't have any old business because this was our old business. So once we get out of budget season, November, our review of budget requests for the next year will remain in old business. So that's the thing that we also do is we keep the conversation of budget requests on every agenda, at least for a few minutes, so that we're just keeping that in mind the whole year. There's no new business, so we should be good. Is there any old business or new business from you? Any announcements that came to mind? Yeah, we can do roll call.
Okay. Mark Bogursky, excuse. Marcel Bondima.
Yes.
Thank you. Rosa Diaz, excuse. Our niece, Foster Hernandez.
Present.
Thank you. Jennifer Meyer.
Present.
Valerie Ponte.
Present.
Thank you. Asher Rodriguez.
Present.
Isaac Scott.
Present.
Robin Strachan. She left us. And Alita, just FYI, you are marked as absent, okay? Even though you're here present with us.
Okay.
All right, thank you. That's it, Chip.
All right, the meeting is adjourned at 8:19. Thank you, everyone, for a beautiful meeting. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so. Yeah, always. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.